Alright, what's going on, guys? Try back again here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Walking Dead video. I started doing spotlight videos with Glenn a couple weeks ago after the Walking Dead issue 100, because in the Walking Dead issue 100, if you guys haven't read it, there's a big incident involving Glenn. And, then I went on and I did a video for Shane after, and people seemed to like him. A lot of people requested that I do Rick, and I thought, yeah, why didn't I do Rick first, actually? He probably should have been the first one I do from out of any character in The Walking Dead at all. I mean, he's the main character of the show. He's our protagonist. He's our, sort of atypical good guy hero, so to speak, of the story, just changing over time. Now, the thing about Rick is that between the comic book series and the television series, he is a much, much different character. And maybe he's supposed to be mostly the same, but to me, the events of Season 2 and the comic book, they just stray away so different that I almost look at Rick as like two different characters. You have like the Rick in the comic book series, and then you have the Rick in the television series. And they're really not as similar, even though obviously they both have or had Carl and Lori. But, they're just in such different places, and the routes have been changed so much that I almost think of them as different. The decisions Rick has had to make in the TV series in Season 2 were different from the ones he made in the comic book, and especially where the character's at now in the comic book, which doesn't resemble almost anything of what he was at the beginning. I mean, it's not even close. Yes, it's not even close. I mean, he starts out at the beginning. Obviously, you guys all know his story. He's your police officer, and not just a cop, because Shane was a cop too. But he's like your good guy police officer. Like if you get pulled over on the highway, he's the cop you hope is pulling you over. You hope it's not a guy like Shane, because Rick's the type of guy that he'd write you a ticket, but then he'd probably tell you what you did wrong if you screwed up or something. And or otherwise he wouldn't write you a ticket. He wouldn't be a dirty cop and just write tickets to meet his quota. But he make you feel good about it. Like he writes you the ticket, but he wouldn't badmouth you or yell at you or harp at you or anything like that, like a character like Shane would. Obviously, in the zombie apocalypse, he's had to be hardened quite a bit. And in both the TV series and the comic book series, we've seen him do things that obviously, as a police officer in the real world, he'd probably never do. Actually, maybe that's not true, because, when he does get into the gunfight there at the beginning, he is shooting at the other guys and that kind of stuff as well. But obviously, the incident in Season 2 at the bar with Dave and Tony is one of the coolest scenes ever. I mean, that's probably the most badass Rick scene we've had so far in the series. Well, that or the end the end of Season 2 where he stabs Shane. I'm not sure which you want to say is more badass. For the time, I think probably when he shoots Dave and Tony in the bar is probably the most badass. The way he just pulls the gun, blows him, just blows Dave's head, and then turns around and shoots Tony like 5 times. And just like in his face is just totally like the whole time what he's doing is just totally stoned, like just, and doesn't even, wince or anything. Just awesome. In the comic book series past that, obviously he does things that are even crazier than that. He sort of gets in that territory where, if you guys have seen 28 Days Later, the actor, his name escapes me at the moment, he plays Scarecrow in Batman Begins and the Dark Knight series. Yeah, whatever. I think of it if I take long enough, but I don't want to do that. Anyway, at the end of the movie, he's changed to the point where, if you guys have seen it, he actually attacks this one dude, and he fights just like just like an animal. Like he like gouges the guy's eyes with his fingers and that kind of stuff, and just crazy. Like he doesn't, his humanity is just gone. Like he doesn't fight like a regular human being would. He just just animalistic. That's simple. Rick is the same way. I mean, by the time you get to like trade paperback, I think probably around, I want to say after they leave the prison, he just changes so much. They get attacked on the highway, him, Abraham, and Carl. And when he does the one dude where he bites his neck off, this is such a significant change in the character that, he's almost not even the same dude anymore. He's just changed to such a point where it's like, he's not even the same guy at all. And obviously the way he looks to it with his hair being longer and everything like that, really adds to the effect. Also, with in the comic series with his dismemberment, of his right hand, obviously changes him too quite a bit, making him sort of not trust anybody to the point where when they run into characters like just out and about in the world, he'll just like beat them up instantly and tie them up and shit like that because of what they've run into and who they've met and what they did to the in the trade paperback Fear of the Hunters, and when basically Rick and the group beat these guys, and they basically like tie him down and like chop him up, man. It's brutal. It's pretty brutal, And to think that this is the same guy that we started off in the story with, to that point. And when we get to see that kind of stuff in the TV series, man, I'm really stoked for. Like when they get to that point where Rick loses his humanity entirely and he starts acting that way, which we've kind of already seen the start of. Like at the end of season 2 when he tells them that this is not a, or Jesus Christ, I'm tired. This is not a democracy anymore. So basically it's become a Rick-tatorship, so to speak. And he's just kind of acting, after he kills Shane, I think that's going to be a big change as well towards that point that he's at in the comic book now, where he'll just kill somebody and just act like it's nothing after, just get up and walk away and just be like, what is it? What, like in the scene at the hilltop where he kills the one dude, forget his name, and everybody at the hilltop's just kind of standing around just like looking at him like he just killed this dude. And he just gets up and he's like, what? As if it's just like, so like to him, it just feels so normal to kill people at that point when he has to. It's just pretty amazing. I think it's the same guy at the beginning. So definitely, I think that Rick is probably the most important character in The Walking Dead. Could it work without him? I think it probably could work without him, but it'd be, I don't know. A lot of people have argued this with me. I've talked about it before, and I said that I think you can. After watching Game of Thrones, and yes, I know it's based on the book, and in which they kill the main character off in the first season of the TV series, or the first book of the book series, and they go on past that, and it's a really strange thing to have the character killed off like that, the main character. But eventually, I think Rick will get killed off, and I think it will be just like out of the blue. I think it will be out of nowhere. It will just happen. You know what I mean? And then after that, we'll all just be like, we'll read the issue or watch it on TV, and we'll just be like, what the, like, just crazy. That's what I think anyway. Definitely with the thing that's going on right now in the comic book series with Negan is really, really interesting, if you ask me. And a lot of people have also thought that after Rick eventually dies, that Carl will take over as the protagonist for the series. And I think that could work, or you could even go with someone like Michonne. I think a lot of people at this point, Michonne being around in the comic book series for so long, people would identify with her and just go with that, and they would have no qualms with that whatsoever. So I don't think that Rick is absolutely necessary to The Walking Dead. I just think that he's your ideal choice for everybody to sort of identify with as like a main character, as a mainstay in what happens to him throughout the story, because it's very interesting, obviously. Another interesting story arc is after they leave the prison and some events happen there, he kind of loses his mind quite a bit. He's like, he's talking on the phone, but there's no one on the other end. Like, he literally starts to lose his mind, and I think that that's pretty natural too, because if if that happened to anybody and they had this stable life with a great family and all this kind of stuff, and a daughter on the way, and that happened and they had to leave the place that they were at. If you guys have read the book, you know what I'm talking about that when I refer to it as that happening, the situation that happens at the end of the prison, and then of course him leaving, he would be traumatized to the point where he would become kind of crazy. I think it would happen to any man, anybody, because you're supposed to be the protector and stuff of the family, and if you fail at that task or something happens, it would kind of drive a person crazy. And also too, the fact that Rick is sort of the leader of the group all the way through the story. You know, even Dale in the comic book series starts to question his leadership quite a bit, you know, to the point where he almost doesn't want to be around him anymore. Dale wants to leave on his own and just thinks we'd be better off on our own without Rick here, because he makes bad decisions. And sometimes he really does, but it's kind of hard to say because, like, you know, there's danger everywhere in the world, right? He's making certain decisions for the group to try to help them survive in one way or another, like with Negan recently, you know, him deciding, okay, we'll go to the hilltop now, and then next thing that happens is they get intercepted, and what happens to Glenn after that. So, you know, he does make a lot of bad decisions. In the TV series, too, it's kind of echoed as well with his decision about Randall. We're just going to let him go. You really can't let him go at that point. That's a pretty stupid decision, you know. His group will be breathing down your neck pretty damn soon if you do that. So, you know, in the TV series, too, I think that they're trying to base his character quite a bit off the comic book. But to me, it still feels a lot different. Maybe it's just because of the points that they're at right now versus where they're going to be at in the comic book series in the future. It's kind of interesting to me is that as I'm doing this video, I start to realize to myself that Rick is actually a much more interesting character in the comic book series than he is in the TV series. Now, that could just be because of the amount of time we spend with him and the amount of changes that happened to the character over that time. But yeah, in the TV series, he actually, you know, hasn't had as much time as he did in the comic book series. And, you know, I think it'll be really interesting in Season 3 to see what happens with him more. I think they wanted to give Shane, obviously, a lot of time in Season 2 because, obviously, his character wasn't going to make it to Season 3. So they wanted to spend a lot of time with him. And we didn't get to spend as much time with Rick as obviously we're going to do in the future. So either way, I think Season 3 should be pretty amazing. I'd love to see a little bit more of that whole, you know, him losing his humanity thing. I think that's going to be probably some of the most interesting stuff coming up. And, you know, there's just so many things in the comic book series for Rick, like the part where he's talking on the phone to nobody. You know, just like seeing that in the TV series is going to be really, really cool. What else? Yeah, him going crazy on people and, you know, biting people and all kinds of other shit. That'll be awesome too. Him killing more people. I just want to see him kill more people, you know? I don't know why. It's just pretty awesome to me. Anyway, regardless of, you know, what direction they go in the TV series, I like for them to go as far away from the comic book as possible. I don't want it to be predictable. And I think that Rick's character development and evolution will be a lot different in the TV series than it is in the comic book. I don't think they want it to be predictable for us either, so we know exactly what's going to happen and when it's going to happen, everything like that. But either way, I'm really excited for the future. Can't wait for Season 3. And even with the comic book series, I'm stoked to see what will happen with this Negan group. It's really, really interesting. And, you know, how long Rick is going to make it. If he's there, you know, probably the most interesting thing about him is he there for, like, a purpose? Like, is he going to start something, you know, special? Like start a huge group or something that can start to rebuild like a civilization or something? Like, is that why he's there? Or is he simply just a man surviving? You know, so is he going to do something like that and rebuild a civilization? Or is he just getting by to the point when eventually somebody or something, you know, takes him down? Either way, I love the story one way or another. I tend to think maybe Kirkman will go with the route of having him become, like, you know, this you know, leader of, like, you know, a huge group of hundreds of thousands of survivors, and you know, rebuild a society, so to speak. But, you know, we'll see what happens with that, because like I said before too, he could die at any time, so there's really no way to know. You know, a lot of people would have said before issue 100 the character who died there is probably safe and not going to die either. That's part of what makes it the most interesting, I think. But anyway, definitely Rick is probably the #1 best character overall in The Walking Dead. The comic book series has had a lot more time to develop. It's been a lot more interesting to spend that time with him in the comic book, and can't wait to do it in the TV series, which is going to be great too, because there's something about seeing it, you know, in live action, done properly like that, on video with the sound and everything, that's just so much more impactful than reading it in a comic book. As much as I love the comic book and everything like that, it'll just be really cool to see those scenes done in live action. I can't wait. or something similar, or just whatever they do with it. Can't wait to see. Anyway, that's it for this video, guys. I'll see you for the next one. Let me know who you want me to do a character spotlight on next. A couple people have suggested some Breaking Bad characters, Walter White and Jesse Pinkman, and any other characters you guys like me to do spotlights on, please let me know, and I will consider it. Later, guys. Peace.